Durag Diaries, Tottenham 2, Brentford 0, and we kept a clean sheet, man. We got a clean sheet and the 3 points. It's been a long way. It's been a long time since we got here. Our last win was nearly 2 months ago, just over 6 weeks, actually, with a 5-0 win at Southampton. But then before that, you're getting back into November. Over 2 to 3 months ago against Manchester City, where again we kept a clean sheet. So look, our last 3 wins, we've got a clean sheet. And yesterday, it was a gritty performance, man. One that we just had to grind out. Brentford were on our necks. They weren't trying to let us up. They weren't trying to let us get away with anything. You know, there was in our half, we got real compact, real defensive performance. That's one thing. You know, you have to clap your hands and say, look, boys, you really got through it. You showed some mental aptitude. That's what they showed yesterday. Some real mental attitude and aptitude to get through that game. One thing we've seen with Spurs, they tend to crumble in these types of moments when teams are just pressing them, working hard. Tottenham tend to lose the ball, lose their heads. But yesterday, we didn't see none of that. A nice, controlled defensive performance. It wasn't too messy, weren't too all over the place. I think one of the key things that we noticed was Ange making tactical adaptations. He finally made an adaptation. I suppose we've seen this in the last game, definitely since that Wolves game where we drew, where we get a lot defensively, a lot more defensive. The fullbacks aren't bombing into those midfield positions or aren't inverting as much. We saw Pedro Porro a lot of the times, especially in that second half, just holding his position, holding his role and not going forward either out on the wing or into the middle. And that really helped. That really helped yesterday because Brentford were really good in the press. They're really relentless. We saw a few times that we were playing it around the back and Kinski almost gave it away. But look, we showed some nice comfortability. We showed our ability to, as I say, work our way out from the back. Ben Davies' leadership back there, I think he was key yesterday. But speaking about the game itself, look, going back to how it started, the lineup was interesting. I think many of us never expected to see Van der Ven out. So when we saw Van der Ven not even play or not even in the squad, heart was pumping. I'm not going to lie, the heart was pumping. But look, Gray and Davies, I think one thing that I've said is with Davies next to Gray, he will learn a lot more. His positioning would be a lot better. I think the defensive performance was just a bit more controlled. When Dragusin's in there, you don't have a leader. You don't have someone who's consistently communicating, someone who's going to be a coach on the pitch. Davies in his, you know, I know I've got onto him at times for his ability and the fact that Spurs have still got a backup player for over 10 years. But one thing I can't take away from him is he's been there. He's been around managers. He was under Poch, he was under Conte, he was under Jose. So he's had all these different instructions and he would have learned a lot throughout his time. So when you've got a young 18-year-old player coming through, that's who you want next to him. You want next to him that experienced centre-back, that experienced, I wouldn't say leader, but that experienced, mature player that's been around and has been through the peaks and troughs of his career. So Archie Gray can really learn and nurture himself. But it wouldn't be right. It wouldn't be right for me to talk about this defensive performance without bigging up the man of the match, Jed Spence. Jed Spence was just another phenomenal performance from him. Defensively sound, didn't really let Mbeumo get the best of him too many times. Look, naturally, Mbeumo is a really good midfielder, really good on that right-hand side. And when he cuts in onto the left, he's always going to create an issue because he's one of those players, they don't need too much space. You only have to give them half a yard or two, and he's going to take advantage of it and potentially put that in the top corner. But we did prevent him from having too much impact in the game. A lot of crosses into the box being dealt with again by Davies, Jed Spence, and also a goal line clearance, a very key goal line clearance at 1-1, which could have turned the game around. It could have flipped the game on its head, but Jed Spence said, no, that ain't happening today. Not on my watch. He said, absolutely no way. It was not going to happen. And boy, look, he deserved the man of the match performance. I know a lot of people weren't necessarily too happy with Ange's comments post-game with him saying that Jed Spence is going to be key for us until Udogie comes back. But I don't think he meant it in that way. I think he meant that until Udogie comes available, he's going to be key in playing a lot of minutes. And then when he does become available, they're going to be battling for that position, rightly so. We're obviously not looking at bringing a left back in, which we are going to touch on a bit later regarding signings and so on. Make sure, look, people, you already know by now. You've got all the socials here. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, Durag Diaries. We're trying to grow. As you can see up here, we're on the road to 1K. 2K, sorry. We're on the road to 2K. The people help me, help me get to 1K. The memberships are open. Become part of the PDs, the people them, you know what I mean? And yeah, make sure you like and subscribe on the video. It helps on the algorithm, helps and grows the channel. And let me know your comments in the let me know your thoughts on the game in the comment section below. Let me know what you're saying. Let me know how you feel about this one. But back to it. I think moving on into that midfield, I think Spurs midfield yesterday had a lot of changes. We saw Bissouma's first half performance wasn't necessarily bad. I do think at times, and this is something I've noticed about him all season, is when he goes to receive that ball in the deep pockets, when he's coming to pick up and he's coming to those defenders, he limits himself and his options by the way that he receives the ball. Very simple, basic things. And this is what a coach needs to talk to him about is when you receive the ball, if I'm coming to a player here, you should be opening up your body here. You should be receiving the ball to open out, especially on this side, to your left hand. So then you open up and you can scan the pitch. The problem with Bissouma is when he gets the ball, he often has his back to all the players before him. So he's not checking his shoulder. He's not aware of the players around him. So his awareness is pretty poor. So when he's receiving it here, he's so often, the only option for him to do is to go back into that space. Because otherwise, if he does turn, as we saw against Arsenal, he turns out and he doesn't calculate the people around him and he's not aware, and then he loses the ball. So it wasn't necessarily a bad half from him or bad performance per se. I think that he come off a bit early just due to managed minutes. But it was a lot better just having him and Bentancur in the midfield together because there is a bit more experience. You do have those players that off the ball are going to put in work. They're going to disrupt the midfield. They're going to give away a lot of fouls at times, but that's just the way that we play. And with two players like that in there, it worked pretty well. I think also one thing you can notice is they play the double pivot pretty good. They can swap out and swap in together. Although I still think we need one player to play the six for the moment for the players we have available, and I guess the midfielders that we have with no one specializing in the six. That is something that is continue to work out, and probably what we will see in the Liverpool game. But when they did make the substitutions, and I think these substitutions were key because when you look at the way that Spurs' goal was created in the second half. Taking it back to the first goal first, before we even talk about the second goal, let's talk about the first one because I was on We Are Tottenham TV. Big up, shout out to the guys. If you haven't watched that, go watch the watch along, the reaction, the highlights, all of that. We Are Tottenham TV, doing it with my boy Ash. We got the call up, big call up to. For us, we'd say one of the biggest Spurs channels out there. So it was more than a pleasure to be there. Little old me. Durag settings, and shout out to the people that was checked in this out. I saw a few of the comments and so on, especially Phil. Shout out to you, my guy. But yeah, so in that watch along, prior to the corner being taken, I highlighted. I said, look, Sonny's corners have been really good at putting the ball into the dangerous area. Finding that area, the edge of the 6-yard box, or just inside the 6-yard box, because that tends to be where there's someone on the near post on the edge of the 6-yard box, but just behind it is that area where you tend to put 3 or 4 players. So if a keeper does come out, you can back up into the goalkeeper. And that's what we saw. It was delivered beautifully within to that area, very similar to the United goal. And then the keeper just couldn't get to it. There was about 2 Tottenham players there, 3 Brentford players there. Brentford player, Janelt, sort of just turned his back, got shook. I don't really know what he was doing. And the ball fell into the goal. But into that second goal, another moment that me and Ash pointed out being really key to creating that goal was we went on the counter. We won the ball back from them, sort of started pick the ball up in transition. We worked it forward. I think it was down the right-hand side with maybe Pedro Porro Kulusevski. It got worked back into the middle. And there was a moment of where Bergvall picks up onto the ball. He sort of let it run ahead of him, dropped his shoulder, got in front of the midfielder. And then he could have played it forward. He could have looked to play a long hard ball forward, try and break the lines, or he could have, done what he done eventually. But I feel like this is in these moments, you need someone who just knows how to play the midfield, someone with that pausa, you know. They don't always want to rush it. They don't always want to force something. They just take their time. And that's exactly what we done. We took our time, worked the ball back to the goalkeeper, moved it out to Kinski, and then Kinski worked it back out. With that, this is what's really key in these transitions, because this is where you can confuse the opponent team. This way you can confuse what they're really doing, because when we move that ball backwards, when they're already transitioning back, it forced some of their players to come forward, force some of them to come up out of their positions, because now they need to press our back line. They want that 1-0. They need that goal. There's about 5-6 minutes remaining at this point. So as soon as they're moving back, we got them to move forward. And so then as we're moving the ball down the left-hand side, it was a great, and this is one thing about Sonny. A lot of people get on Sonny and say, is he finished? Is he this? Is he that? The football IQ is there. The football IQ is there. The ability to make these key passes. If you look at Sonny's key passes this season, it's one of the most in the Premier League, because there isn't much players in the league that have the football IQ that he does. He's been around for long. He's 32 years of age, attacking player who's used to these moments. So it's no surprise more than anything. But look, he got the ball onto that left-hand side. He saw Saar making a great bursted run through the middle into that half space between the left back and the centre back. And it was completely open, because the way that we dragged them out of position, the left back had been pulled all the way out to Sonny, but the centre back hadn't communicated with him yet. So much space. Saar come running through, and then it was more than easy finish. Popped it through the goalkeeper's legs, 2-0. But that moment from Bergvall is what created that goal. That moment where he just took that pauser, that moment to just pass it, move it a bit slowly, slow down the game, and then move it backwards. Key from Bergvall. That's what we need to see. A very controlled goal, controlled performance at that time. And just moving the ball in, not in trying to be too basketball transitioned, not trying to force it. But yeah, man, look, I was definitely happy with the 3 points. The fact we got a clean sheet, guys, the fact we got a clean sheet was more important than anything. And that's what really made me happy. It's been a long time since the Durag was on in a Premier League game, man. I'm being real, guys. The Durag has not been on for a while. So look, make sure you people have smashed the like on the video. Make sure you've smashed the likes for a Tottenham win. Make sure you smash the likes for 3 points. It's been a while. It's been a while. But yeah, man, look, onto it. We've got Liverpool next and then Aston Villa. So two tough games. But look, we've won our past two. Hopefully we can build upon these performances, build upon these wins, and then take them into that semi-final game on Thursday, because I'm very much looking forward to it. Can we get a point at Anfield? Can we do something huge here? Can Ange finally, I suppose, redeem himself for some people? Because, hey, he's down and out. He's down and out right now. But big up to everyone, man. Look, make sure you've done all of that goodness. Make sure you've followed my socials. And as you can see, road to 2K. Show some love, man. We're out.